video, we're just going to be looking into the situation um, of how there's demons coming to the surface of the earth from hell to disrupt the world. You know, so we're just going to look at what Mary Baxter had seen. So I'm just going to read from her book called A Divine Revelation of Hell. And this is to do with horns. This is the chapter is horns. And it says here, Jesus said, "Tonight, my child, we will go to a different part of the heart of hell. I want to tell you about the horns and show you how they will be used to funnel evil spirits and demon forces up to the surface of the earth." Okay? So whenever there's something to do with horns coming from any kind of creatures, it's to do with they're actually funneling, helping demons to go to the surface of the earth to mess up the world. It's one of the reasons why the world is in a mess, because of these demons. As Jesus spoke, I began to witness an open vision. In the vision, I saw an old farmhouse. I began to witness. I saw an old farmhouse, dead and grey looking, surrounded with many dead trees and high dead grass. The yard around the farmhouse was littered with dead things. There was no life there. The farmhouse looked as though it had settled at the corners and were sinking into the center of the field. There were no buildings in sight. Death was everywhere. I knew this farmhouse was part of hell, but I could not yet understand what I was seeing. Inside, behind the dingy windows, loomed large shadows in human shapes. There was something evil about their appearance. One of the shapes moved toward the front door and opened it. I watched as a huge man with extremely large muscles came out of the door and walked onto the porch. I saw him clearly. He was about 6 feet tall, with the bulky build of a weightlifter. His color was the same dead grey as the surroundings. He wore only a pair of men's pants. They were as grey and dead looking as the bare skin of his upper body. His flesh was like scales, and his head was very big. In fact, his head was so large that his legs were bowed from carrying such a great load. His feet were hoofed like the feet of a pig. His face was stern and evil, and he looked to be very old. His eyes were dead, and his face was very broad. In the vision, I saw this awful creature walk off the old porch. The earth shook as he moved, and horns were growing out of the top of his head, large horns that grew up and out of sight. As he walked, I saw the horns were growing ever so slowly. Other horns began to grow from his head. Little horns sprang from the bigger ones. I saw that his head was like a beast, a powerful evil beast, full of destruction. Each step he took shook the earth. Jesus said, "Watch." I saw the horns as they wound their way upward and ended in homes, churches, hospitals, offices, and buildings of all kinds over the earth. So demons are being funneled and by these horns into these places. The horns did great damage throughout the land. I saw the beast speak, and evil spirits were spit out on the earth. So there we have it. I saw many people seduced by these demonic forces and fall into Satan's snares. We were in a war, good against evil, I thought. We are in a war. I heard the Spirit of the Lord say, "Good against evil." Dark clouds came out of the horns and hid the many forms of evil that were going out upon the earth. All forms of evil. All the abominations that God hates were there. I saw kingdoms arising out of the earth, and millions of people began to follow these evil forces. I saw the old horns removed and new ones grow in their places. Also, what we're going to be reading next, okay, so we've got demonic forces that are going in. Right, this is one of the reasons why we have haunted houses in the first place, okay, or haunted buildings. Sometimes you even get haunted hospitals as well. Okay, it's because there's demonic forces that are lurking around there that are being spit out upon the earth. Now the next thing I find very interesting is that it says here, open visions from hell. And basically it was a fiery serpent, and she says that I saw the horns of the fiery serpent as they entered the bodies of people on earth. Okay? Many were completely possessed by the serpent. So what we learn here is that demons are funneled from the serpent creature to possess people, which means that people are in the future, or even now, are going to be getting possessed. Because you've got to understand that there's a lot of these funneling things that are going even into churches. Could this be one of the reasons why you have some preachers that could be preaching, and then suddenly some demon-possessed person starts maybe shouting? You know, which sometimes it does happen in churches. You have demon-possessed people in churches sometimes, and they'll just start manifesting. Alright? We've got to look at things reasonably here. So, one of the things that we realize is that there's demons that are coming to the surface of the earth to corrupt the earth with all the abominations of all forms of sin, right? All forms of sin, like maybe drunkenness, drugs, fornication, all forms of things that are abomination to God, idol worshipping, things like that. All forms of evil are going to be being spit out because people are being seduced by these demons to do these things, right? So what we're going to be looking into next is that one of the things is that you've got to forget everything that you've learned from the pagan world. From this system that we live under, you need to forget about everything that you've learned, because the majority of it is a lie. Because it's part of Satan's kingdom, you see. You know? It doesn't follow the laws of God. Why do you think that when you look into a newspaper, they have horoscopes there? Yeah, paganism. They don't have Christian talk phone numbers, do they? For people to speak to Christians or preachers or anything like that. Now, do you in newspapers? But no, they'll have paganism in newspapers. That's just an example to show you the people in high places are ruling from Satan's kingdom. Okay? Of course, so there is, demonic stuff going on behind the scenes. So one of the things is that never look at people's opinions when they start talking about spirits. We have to go by the evidence. We have to look at things from a biblical perspective. So because you'll have some people think that they're paranormal experts, but they're maybe they say, oh, it's a ghost of a dead person, right? When in reality that just can't be the case, because they're being deceived, you see, right? Because Satan is all about deception. So what we're going to look into is, we're going to look into the whole situation with haunted houses, okay, to give us an idea of what's going on there, and to see what's likely to be going on. Now, what we learn here, right, is because of NDE experiences, that shows us that when someone dies, they enter a tunnel and they go to a different location. They don't get to go and haunt a house, okay? They usually go to a different location whenever they die in their own houses, okay? Either they are in a burning pits of hell, or they're in a cube full of illusions, right? Where mind games get played on them, like that Brian Melvin had seen. Or they'll go to heaven, right? If they're a Christian. Now let's look at what happens in haunted houses. One of the things that you'll notice, right, when you research haunted houses, is that one of the things that you'll find sometimes, right, when you look at these, is that usually the spirit relives its own death. Okay. For example, if a murder took place in the house, the person will keep supposedly the ghost of that dead person keeps reliving the same murder scene over and over and over again, and then the person that's still alive walks in and sees a ghost reliving its own death. Now put yourself in the shoes of that, right, to try and make sense of this. Why would anybody want to relive their own murder scene for, or an accidental death for, right? Now, obviously, it's because nobody, if you were maybe killed in a car accident, would you, if you were would you like to jump into a ghost car and relive your own accident over and over again and hope that somebody sees you, so they can report that they saw a ghost? Wouldn't you have something else better to do with your time than to relive your own death over and over again? See how it doesn't make any sense? But the demons are doing that obviously to try and deceive the living, that they're trying to deceive them into thinking that they saw a dead person, maybe a dead relative or whatever it is, to convince them that they can contact the dead, because demons want people to talk to them, you see, so they can have a foothold in their lives. That's how it works, right? Also, what you'll find, because we know that when a near-death experience, they always go from one location to another. I've never heard any stories of in NDE experiences of someone being allowed to just stay in the house. They usually go to a different location altogether, usually through a dark tunnel with a light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, so and the next thing we find is that there was another situation where a woman died. Her husband experienced supposedly her ghost in his own house, but guess what she does, supposedly, what supposedly is meant to be her, according to him, she starts terrorizing him in his own bed, making him ill. Okay, now if you're a woman, right, and you love your husband and you died, why would you want to continually harass your own husband for, when you know that you're not going to be able to live with him anymore? But that's what you'll find in these ghost scenarios, is that they end up becoming nasty to the person, scare the person, especially when her face became all distorted and demonic looking as well, because that's what they've seen in this case. Right? So obviously it's a demon that's imitating someone that is dead. Okay, so again, there's more evidence that shows that this is not dead people. It's just a deception. It's a demon disguising itself. Because remember, we learned from Brian Melvin is that the demons down in hell imitate the dead down there. Like if a woman dies, she maybe sees her dead grandmother, for example. It's just a demon she's seeing. That's all it is. Yeah. Again, in the next haunted houses, a spirit imitates people that are still alive. That's what you'll find. I'll need to make another video, so we'll get straight into that. And bye for now.